Tuesday, August 5th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here with you. Our gradual warming trend continued yesterday with highs in the mid and upper 80s in a lot of the Piedmont, low 90s down in Columbia. Fayetteville hit 84, 80 in Wilmington and Jacksonville. Again, yesterday you had a lot of showers and storms closer to the coast. But the further west you went into the Piedmont, the less in the way of showers and storms there were. This morning, 60s in places like Raleigh and Charlotte, Greensboro, 73 in Fayetteville, though, and 75 in Wilmington, 76 in Columbia. And again, this morning there are some patchy areas of dense fog as we're beginning the day that will erode pretty quickly. Dew points not terrible up in the mountains for sure, but then you hit some 60s in the Piedmont and eventually very muggy in the 70s down into South Carolina and over through the eastern quarter of North Carolina. Again, as mentioned yesterday, had a decent amount of some showers and storms closer to the coast. And our next cold front still a couple of days away off to the northwest of us. So the bottom line is over the next couple of days, just a warming trend continuing here as we roll through and into the midweek period. So let's take a look at what's happening on the radar now in more detail. This is about 5:30 this morning. You have a lot of showers and storms offshore and occasionally grazing the North Carolina coast, and a lot of offshore showers and thunderstorms off of the South Carolina and Georgia coast as well. Then eventually you get out there several hundred miles and you hit Bertha. Now Bertha has really degraded significantly on the satellite imagery here as we've gone through the past several hours. Bertha located right about there. There's Bermuda. And of course, there's the North Carolina coast. So splitting the upright, so to speak, heading between the North Carolina coast and the coast and the area of Bermuda out there in the Atlantic. So really taking about as good as a track as it could take this far in the West Atlantic to not bother any land areas. Now, again, there's that next cold front off to the northwest. Similar to yesterday across the Piedmont and the foothills, an isolated shower or thunderstorm is a possibility, but the vast majority of us will stay rain-free. We're going to keep that gradual warming trend going. Mid and upper 80s in a lot of spots, low 90s in Columbia today. And tomorrow, likely the hottest day of the week for most of us, with that front just to our north and west, topping 90 for most of our Wednesday highs across the region. And again, the rain chance tomorrow quite limited. Now that front I mentioned a moment ago, that's going to then stall out off to the south of North Carolina, there across South Carolina, North Georgia, and Tennessee as we get into Friday and the weekend, and that's going to provide us with kind of a cool and wet setup, it appears. This high pressure will form somewhat of a cold air damming setup, and we'll see if this area of low pressure does indeed form along this front, as the European model indicates. If that's the case, then it looks like a pretty wet go of it here in many spots as we go through the Saturday and Sunday time period, even beginning Friday. So at this point, the weekend forecast isn't looking that great. But of course, last weekend actually ended up better in many spots than it looked like it could have been. So we'll see. We'll keep working on this forecast. But at the moment, the weekend looks pretty wet. All right. In the tropics, of course, we're talking about Bertha. There's the enhanced satellite imagery. I put that on just to show you how earlier, about, say, 12 to 24 hours ago, Bertha was looking much healthier, and it did become a hurricane for a period of time. But now it has weakened significantly as it's continued to move off to the north and northeast. Here's the 5 a.m. advisory on Bertha, located 475 miles to the west of Bermuda, now racing to the north-northeast at 22 miles per hour, and Bertha will be gradually in coming days making that transition to a non-tropical type of low as it gets over the cooler and cooler waters of the North Atlantic Ocean. Regarding the winds with Bertha, you can see certainly the strongest winds well offshore there, where you see the deeper shades of red and purple, and that's lopsided even to the east of the center, which is well offshore, and that'll continue tracking to the northeast and away from the coast. So for coastal parts of the Carolinas, just for another day or two, some lingering increased surf and rip currents, but no direct impacts from Bertha. All right, that is it for today's edition of the video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and God bless.